This week on the Unqualified Gamers Podcast, Darren joins the boys as we talk about Call of Duty and Escape from Tarkov. Episode 119, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, I just realized that our portraits are in a different order now because you changed your name from CC Punishment to your actual name for once.
I didn't even do. I don't know why I did that.
Why are you fucking with us?
I don't know. It was one time too. Oh, see.
No, that was like a title, but like your actual name was CC. So like you went on like one side.
I don't know why it's like that. I didn't change it. It just did it. Apparently, I don't know. I'm having major computer problems the last couple of days.
My God, is he ever?
Yeah.
He's like reinstalling Windows for the 12th time.
This is the third time in 2 years.
Okay, but it's the second time in 2 weeks.
No, I haven't. I did it. I haven't done, or I haven't. I don't think I've done it since I've been. My computer's been here. I think it's been about 2 months.
Okay, fine. 2 months.
Two or
even
3
twice
months.
in 2 months.
Yeah.
Like I haven't reinstalled Windows since I got my PC.
You want to know why? You want to know why I'm reinstalling? I'll gladly tell you, Darren. By the way, welcome, Darren. Well, thank you for joining us. Guy's gone. So for some reason, I've got like an audio issue, and I was streaming on 2 PCs. So that could be why I'm having audio issues. I don't know, but basically, when I turn my computer on, I hear myself out of my microphone or out of my. I hear myself through my headset. Nothing else. Figured out that the only way to fix that is to unplug my USB for my headphone little thing and plug it back in. Fixes it right away. And then the last couple of nights, which I think it's an NVIDIA driver, but I've tried reverting. I've tried uninstalling. I can't play any games. I'm 5 minutes in. It kicks me out. The game crashes. I have to restart the game. No matter if it's... I've only tried 2 games, Tarkov and Call of Duty, because we've been playing a lot of Tarkov lately. And yeah, I'm over it. I literally almost spent $1,000 last night that I don't have to build a new PC to upgrade mine the rest of the way because I'm so sick of just having these issues. But my computer can still hang with the best of them, so I don't need to do that right now. So
sure, like you sound like that guy. Did you ever see Not Another Teen Movie?
Thankfully, no.
That guy. I think it was Not Another Teen Movie. There was this guy walking around, and it was the old creepy dude from Armageddon.
Why do I sound like an old creepy dude? What are you talking about?
He always sounds like the old creepy. Anyway, he always plays like this old creepy dude. I forget the actor's name. But anyway, he's just like walking through the halls as like this like 50-year-old dude with a skateboard and hello, normal high school students. That's what you sound like when you're like, I can still hang with them.
No, my PC can still hang, bro. It's good.
Of course.
Good.
And I can
still hang with the best of them.
I have the same PC as you, Zeus, except I have a 4060 Ti. Other than that, it's exactly the same.
And a slightly better processor. But
slightly, we have 64 gigs of RAM too, right?
This is what it's all about. It's about how you take care of things. And just like the second it bothers you, you just give it that like. I
haven't punched anything yet, so.
Yet.
It's coming. Hey. That proves I haven't broke my desk. No monitors are broke. I'm growing as a person, okay?
Okay.
Growing as a person.
I mean, that does say a lot when, like, you don't expect me to punch monitors and break things. But we are surprised when you haven't.
Yeah. Well, I also have a problem. My mouse is going to shit. My scroll wheel. Same thing that happened on the other exact same mouse. Why buy the exact same mouse when it was broken the first time? So it was $90.
So Missa, you know how she does accounting stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like numbers, all right. She does not use her scroll wheel, apparently. She just uses like up and down arrows and like tabs through cells and things.
That's fucking insane.
But it's because her mouse is so broken that you go to scroll down and it scrolls up because of just how screwed up.
That's what mine's doing. Buy your girlfriend a new mouse, bro.
She won't let me. She's like, it's fine. I don't want. Remember, she's frugal. She's not you.
Frugal.
She doesn't like just throw money at everything.
Well, yeah. So my headphones are, I mean, they're like 5 years old. They're going bad. Everything's just dying on me right now, man.
His
It's
knees,
just not
his
good.
back.
Yeah, my back's actually been doing better. But I mean, everything's just dying on me right now, and I'm just over it.
Yeah, your back's better, so that's one thing going for you.
Yeah. I'm just
you didn't answer the question though, like why you had to reinstall Windows
last time
in general.
Okay, so I'm one of those people that isn't very smart, and like I've got 2 NVMe drives in my computer.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the storage I have. You shouldn't store Windows on a drive that you like constantly download stuff and, you know, delete and remove off of it. It's not made for that. It's made for like installing shit on and leaving it there, not like because I download the podcast on it, then I record it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not made for that. So I beat the hell out of it. Last time it went out on me completely. This time it hasn't. It's just not good for it. And I think that's what's causing my issues. So when I do the rebuild, I'm gonna fix that.
I know when you last reinstalled Windows, it's when you had that YouTube audio crap going on.
Yeah.
April 24th.
Okay.
I like how Zeus remembers the dates.
No, I'm looking up our like our
No, you're
chats.
right. But I want you to know that I didn't reinstall, I repaired them.
Okay, that's different.
But that didn't fix the problem because that's the same fucking audio problem that I'm having where I can hear myself out of my microphone. So that didn't get fixed. That's part of why it needs to happen again. So I did tell you I reinstalled, but I just repaired. I just said I reinstalled, but yeah.
Okay.
By the way, I also had kind of that same issue, and the way that I fixed that issue, because I run my stuff through a Focusrite, the Scarlett 2i2.
Yeah.
Great thing. I like it. It doesn't give enough power. If you're looking for my like full review, ask for it and I'll give it. But I had to download different drivers because apparently what it was doing, same thing with Darren, because he was having the same issues when he got his Roadcaster stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what it is without the drivers, all of the audio, all the mic and headphones is all going through one port and coming out one port. It's the driver that does the separation. And so he was having the same exact issue. It was really, really faint, but he had the same issue that I did. That's why I thought you had it too. I don't know if that's something. Right now is not the time to fix your audio.
Trust me, dude. I'm not.
Fix it while you're live.
It's not going to happen. I'm going to buy myself a Go XLR because that should get rid of all my issues with audio, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got like a cheap Fi-Fine mix amp that I use now, and I really can't do anything with it. So I have no gain or anything with it. I have a very nice microphone, like it's the Shure SM7B. It's very nice.
Yeah, I think I'm rocking the MV7. Yeah,
and Zeus has too.
when I was in music, Shure was my go-to for microphones in general. Unless we were talking about drum kits, then I'd probably go to Sennheiser.
Yeah, my shit's just a mess again, like normal. So that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
Well, okay. So in terms of your audio issue, like the only time you're really going to want to reinstall Windows is, which if done right, you should never have to.
No, I agree.
I don't know about your storage devices, but you're generally right. All your software, and I was explaining this to our friend Chris the other day, all your software should be on the same drive as Windows on an SSD drive. And I usually tell people, because of Windows 11, I would go. Not that you couldn't get away with a 250 gig, you could.
500 though, right?
I'd go terabyte.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, especially if you're a gamer.
Yeah.
Because if you're a gamer, that terabyte's going to cover you for a pretty decent amount. 2 terabytes is usually like if you're a heavy gamer like Zeus or Wyatt. You haven't met Wyatt. If you're heavy gamers like them, then you're probably going to dial it to 2 gigs or 2 terabytes.
Well, so I've got a 1 gig M.2 that I use for Windows, right? And I got a 1 tera 2 M.2.
Yeah.
But then I also have 2 different 2 terabyte SSDs. That's what I have all of my games on. I have Blizzard in one of them because Blizzard has these just massive games.
Yeah.
COD, World of Warcraft, StarCraft.
COD.
Just
it's
COD.
A huge install.
COD.
Yeah.
They've got COD 1, 2, 3, 12. second series, 15, whatever.
So,
but then I have a mechanical drive that's 6 gigs. It's a spinning drive, and that's what I put all of my
6 terabytes,
movies.
Right?
Yeah, 6 tera.
Yeah, gotcha.
You
keep saying gigs. You keep saying gigs.
No one deals with only 6 gig anymore. But you get what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's a 6 tera drive.
I should have let that fly because the comments would have just tore you up, and it would have pushed it in the algorithm, and it would have been great.
I don't come at me, Facebook, come at me, Instagram. I can handle myself.
So, I would say that's how you get Zeus, is you just let him set his own trap. But
yeah.
Darren's known me. That's fine. Come at me. I'm
my computer is like I said, I have an NVMe 1 terabyte that has Windows on it. Then I have another one it's a 2 terabyte that has all of my games and stuff on it. Right? Okay. The issue is every week I download 30 some gigs from the podcast. I edit it. I export it and I download all of that onto the drive with Windows. And I download it, then delete it, and that stuff's not meant to. You're not meant to do that on an NVMe drive.
No, and so years back, I was entrepreneuring for a web design firm. It was my buddy's company, and that's where I started entrepreneur. So entrepreneur is you're just starting up, whatever. But entrepreneur is you're also starting up, but you're learning from the inside. The
more you know.
The more you know. Years back, I would say around the birth of AOL, I was tinkering around with HTML and building websites and whatever.
For all those MySpace people.
Hey, I did the same thing, baby. I took 4 HTML classes.
First of all, I was helping Noah load the Ark. All right, so this is way before MySpace. I started it back then, and then I sort of divvied away from that, got into music, blah blah blah, and then when I started working for my buddy's company, that's where I started picking it back up, but the industry had already mutated by that point, and it really hadn't even gone through its mitosis phase because MySpace, I think, was the last, and it was either MySpace or Friendster was the last to be run off of like HTML and JavaScript. A lot of them started using server-side script, and that's where the game really changed, especially with Facebook, because PHP was such a crap language, but somehow they made it work. Anyway, that's where I learned where you store all your software and Windows on a single solid-state hard drive, and it's worth paying for software like Acronis to mirror your drive onto something else in the event you have to reinstall Windows or go back in time, which is a lot more seamless than Windows recovery tool. Yeah.
Putting it out there, we are not being sponsored by that.
No.
If they wanted to give us a sponsor, you're more than welcome to.
It's a great recommendation.
I'm hoping for a sponsor from Go XLR. That's all I'm saying. Like, throw your boys a couple of
no.
You
guys think bigger. White Monster. All right.
White Monster.
Wow. Orange.
One word. Gross.
Yeah. Orange. I'm not a construction worker. I'm good.
Darren,
want orange.
You being from the time of the dinosaurs, you remember Final Destination 2, right?
I thought you were gonna say the meteor strike.
Yeah, everybody remembers
the logs in the back of the truck and everything, right? You remember all that?
Which game?
It's a movie, Final Destination 2.
Yeah,
there's no way you don't know about this.
I remember. I've never seen the movie, but I remember like seeing it advertised, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. So the newest Final Destination, they actually drove around a log truck.
Oh no shit! I've enjoyed all those movies.
On the side of it.
I've enjoyed all those movies.
They're so bad, they're amazing.
Yeah, I've enjoyed them all. just like I enjoyed Sharknado. So.
Oh, God.
Okay, no, Sharknado is literally, we've talked about this already. Cece thought that in hurricanes,
my whole life I thought
sharks. By the way, he lives in Iowa. Yeah, he lives in the middle of freaking Iowa.
Yeah. And I got hit by a hurricane, by the way.
But he's afraid that a hurricane is going to pick up sharks from the ocean and dump them into people's basements.
No, dude, that's not what it's not. So my whole thing was like down in Florida, there's a hurricane, right? Let's say there's a hurricane in Florida. Heaven forbid, I don't want that to happen. But like the water comes up. I just figure there's got to be sharks like in town, right? Like when the water's up, like and like what if one went down in the basement and then you get home and the basement's flooded and you're like, there's a fucking shark in there.
Editing team, this is where you insert the JD Vance meme.
Dude, it could happen, man. It could happen. I'm telling you. I saw a movie where it happened with the alligator. Okay, yeah, no, actually, I know it can't happen because sharks leave when that shit's gonna happen. But like, I've in my brain, that's what played out my entire life. Every time there's a hurricane,
right.
I'm like,
Yeah,
somebody's going to get killed by a shark in their basement.
I'm gonna put it out there. I'm not a what is it, a meteorologist. I'm not a physicist, but just based off of what I know, is it possible for, say, a tornado to pick up an alligator or a hurricane to lift an alligator and throw it somewhere? Yeah, the likelihood of it surviving is probably not great.
Okay, I'm not saying they get thrown, right? But the water level rises, right? And like, I'm just saying they could swim. Different. They could swim up and be like,
"That's different."
Oh, there's a basement. I'm going to go in there. You know, like
CC's more worried about like the storm surge that comes in after a big storm.
Yeah.
It's just a lot funnier.
Not that I don't think sharks get thrown around in hurricanes. Okay, I don't think that happens.
I can see that happening.
I mean, I might have thought that when I was a kid, but then I got smarter.
I can see that happening where you're like hiding on a bookshelf with a water's elevator in your living room. Everything's fine. The water will go down now, and all of a sudden you see that fin coming through.
Right.
Just like,
that's what I'm saying, dude. Like that. Like I always thought that could happen, but then like somebody told me one time that like, oh, sharks are smart. They know that stuff. They leave.
That was Kai during that episode.
I knew that before that. Okay, I knew that it wasn't gonna happen. It wasn't gonna happen before that. I'm not stupid. Okay. I may be portrayed
in
that
your
way.
defense. In your defense, if that happened to me, I'd probably do the same thing. I'm like, everything's fine. Right? You see the fin?
Yeah, you'd be like, I'm not going down there. Anyway,
not like this.
Yeah, no,
not like this.
This needs to be one of those like the Clash of the Titans type movies where Poseidon takes over for Zeus one day, and instead of lightning bolts, he just
starts throwing sharks at people. Yeah, right.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
could you imagine? Achilles being just taken out by a shark instead of an arrow.
I've been terrified of like hurricanes my whole life, even though I live in Iowa. And then I got hit by a land hurricane in Iowa, dude. Like, it's called a derecho.
Did you know those exist, Darren?
It is the scariest thing you ever seen. When we get done with this, I'll send you a video. It's the wildest damn thing you've ever seen in your life, dude. It was like 30 minutes of like 200-mile-an-hour wind. It knocked down all the power, all the trees in this town. $50,000 worth of damage to my house and like every house in this town. So it was insane.
I've experienced a small hurricane. Like when I say small, we're probably talking about like 50 or 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Which for and half my family's from the south. I've been in thunderstorms. That shit's no joke. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you live in LA. You don't even know what weather is, do you?
No. Okay. Hold up.
Yes, but no.
So.
Oh, it's sunny and 80 most days every day.
While I lived in LA, all right. While I lived in Linwood, okay, from the place that I lived, I have been closer to a tornado than the people that I know that live in Ohio.
That's true.
Oh God, I've been in a tornado.
Okay, that's fine, but this is LA, all right? We're talking about maybe 40 miles from the ocean.
You sure it wasn't just a little wind and you got a little excited because you don't know what weather is? You live in LA.
'Tis wisp of wind.
It got windy, man. Okay, there was leaves in the air, dude.
He doesn't understand Simi Valley, first.
Oh, I know.
I know that.
Right.
But no, there was an actual tornado touchdown that basically said, like, it saw one small business and it said, screw you, dropped down, destroyed it, and then disappeared.
Okay. That's like a bitch tornado, okay?
Well,
we don't have those here. We have real tornadoes that destroy towns.
So it's almost like comparing, apples to bananas or whatever.
Yeah.
Every region is going to have its own thing. And maybe some people have had, the quote unquote luxury of experiencing one act of God or another.
I know that your guys' act of God in California is liberals. I get that. But like, what else do you have?
That's the first one. The second one is earthquakes. But
earthquakes,
even,
yeah. You got
fires. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, with earthquakes is the last big one that we've had that made any kind of impact was in 94. Yes, we've had like one or two 6-pointers, which my roommate is from Texas and overseas, and he's only experienced like maybe a 3.0 that was a couple miles away, which is noticeable.
Yeah.
But I told him, I'm like, we don't lift anything.
Fully still in like a Zen meditation, you might notice it. You don't notice it until it's like
you don't. I kept telling him, I'm like, you don't lift a finger for anything less than a 5, and once it hits 5, you got my attention. Because I'm like, is this shit gonna grow?
So basically, what it is, and I've tried explaining it to people, it's the weirdest thing. So do you remember when you were like in school and someone would like hit the side of the classroom or something with like a gigantic ball?
Yeah,
and you'd hear like that really big boom. On like a hollow whatever.
Where the fuck did you go to school?
All right, let's open our imaginations here.
Okay, I'm trying to like.
Let's take a page out of the reading rainbow.
That your kids have never hit like the side of your house with something, or you've never.
Obviously I've heard something hit the side of my house.
Okay, so that's the weirdest thing. Like you'll feel like everything. It kind of feels like someone like bumped your desk, and you'll see things move a little bit, or your chair will move a little bit, and then you'll hear this gigantic boom, like something just slammed against the side of your house, and then everything goes to shit. And that's like from like 5.0 up. And
you have you maybe have like a split second up to a second to start reacting.
And the weirdest thing is anything that's loose, you'll hear a slight jingle first. And then you're just like, it's the weirdest thing because your blood just runs cold. You have no idea how big it's going to be. You freeze in place for a second. And then you feel either this tiny little rumble and you're like, okay, that's not too bad. Or you start actually running for a doorway.
Run for a doorway.
No, it's true. It's mostly
that's what you do
true.
in tornadoes.
It's mostly true.
The tornado.
We don't have basements. Yeah. We don't have basements because of tornadoes.
Right.
There was apartment complexes during '94 that were a underground parking and a 3-story building. They became a 2-story building with an underground apartment.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Like no, it's not.
I mean, people probably got hurt, but that's crazy.
But to that point, it's like, we can make the argument that we have earthquakes, but no one of the current generation has experienced. Well, unless you live in Bakersfield because they had the 6-pointer, there's
nothing out there.
Exactly.
It moved some sand.
Exactly.
It was like
so
like kind of went to one side of a pasture.
When you're talking about like the LA folk, the current 18 to 25 demographic has never really experienced a real earthquake. And I wonder how ill prepared they are for it, because I remember camping out in the street for a week before we were even allowed to go back in the homes.
30-year-olds do not know what an earthquake is.
Yeah. Hey. And that's scary.
That's crazy.
So,
yeah. Now, to your credit, Cece, or Heath, based on your name down there.
Whatever, man. It's cool. It's cool.
To that point, those in the South know what to do during thunderstorms and hurricanes. They're prepared because they get hit with them all the time. Yeah. In fact, Keesler Air Force Base, the ongoing joke there is that base always looks new and pristine because it always gets hit with hurricanes and they're always having to repair it. To that point, they're used to that. Whereas California, I don't think they realize the devastation a solid 7 can do.
By the way, just so you were kind of like talking about like winds and everything.
Yeah.
The city that Darren and I grew up in is called Simi Valley.
Right.
It literally means windy valley. Yeah. And we would have weeks of like no less than like 50-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
With gusts up to like 90. It was
not to mention all of it's a fire zone.
Oh yeah, and anytime you ever hear about
in
California being on fire, it's I guarantee you it's central to around Simi Valley.
Yeah.
Every single time
there, huh?
we're in no, it's because of how much dry brush there is around the area. So like the Malibu fire started just north of Simi, the Valencia, like all of those things, they comes just way down from the mountains, and it'll travel, 150 miles because there's just nothing there except a dying amusement park and like 2 shooting ranges and a paintball course.
You know what else is really scary? Steam just got hacked, and you need to change your password because people will steal your account. So change your password if you have a Steam account.
They're gonna take my 32 cents in stickers.
Hey, they might steal all your games, man. I don't know.
Oh no, I can't play games I don't play anymore. What shall I ever do?
Right. Modern Warfare
doesn't have to worry about it.
Hey, well, your credit card's probably on Steam, isn't it?
I'll be really upset for them taking Doom in HD.
I just don't want to lose my Steam account.
Yeah, Darren, do you even have a Steam account?
I do. You're on my friends list.
Yeah, you're never on. What is a Steam game you play?
I haven't played in a while, but I have been gearing up. I guess Age of Empires 2, the HD edition, the remake, which actually is pretty nice. I was supposed to go one-on-one with a friend of mine because that was a game that we both used to play back in the day. So
is this
I love Age of Empires.
Where you just like sit there and turtle for like 2.5 hours, and whoever builds the monastery first is the one that wins?
Probably.
Or you guys actually fight?
Kind of. It's not the monastery; it's something else. But you can do that, or you can just straight up annihilate the other person. But then it's what advantage does one have over the other, and are they prepared to counter?
So
that sort of thing.
I watched an Age of Empires tournament. And
God.
one of the smartest, and no, it was actually great. Like one of the matches I watched, this guy busted out some like old tech where he took his little rider, went out, and captured the enemy's sheep. So I guess each person starts with like 3 or 4 sheep on their sides of the map. And so he, instead of going for any of the ones near him, instantly ran out and took the other ones away from his opponent and then grabbed the ones that were closer to him. So his opponent's out there trying to find the sheep. He's got one. The other guy's got like 5 or 6. And he just GG's out of the game at that point when he can't find one at like the 7-minute mark.
That's fun.
It's fun.
I've actually right away.
So the same friend that I was supposed to like play up against, I did that to him. I just sent my scout to look for him, and I just stole all of his shit.
It's messed up, dude.
Yeah, it's fun.
Speaking of cheating.
Oh,
yeah, Darren.
Oh,
yeah. See where that went? Zim and
Right.
Cronus are finally ending.
Till something else comes. What do you mean they're ending? I don't get it.
I agree.
So Activision actually sent a cease and desist to Zim and Cronus.
Okay.
It has gotten so bad that Activision, the most money-hungry thing out there, aside from Nintendo and Apple, is actually going out there and getting them to stop.
I made my suggestions on how to save COD on the last time I was here. We can rehash that if you want, but is it going to solve it? No. You're never going to.
No. It's the thing is that technically, and I'm using the air quotes, those aren't cheating. They're using, you're getting a hardware advantage. You are not getting a software advantage. So it is something that you can actually buy. You can plug in. Everyone actually has.
Yeah, but a Cronus is cheating. Like, how is that not?
Well,
no recoil.
Okay, here's the same thing. It would be the same thing like saying that my Naga is cheating because I have an extra 12 buttons on the side of my mouse.
No. I don't think Cronus has buttons. You plug your controller into it, and it gives you scripts for like aimbot.
But what I'm saying is my mouse has 17 buttons on it.
Right.
So when I'm doing stuff, like I can melee, grenade, tactical without ever taking my fingers off WASD. Everyone else has to, move their fingers to E, move it to G, move it to whatever your tacticals are.
Yeah, but you gotta move your thumb off of whatever. I mean, I don't think that's cheating.
Back in the day on the old Modern Warfares, I was the dude, setting my firing button to the mouse wheel on a 50 cal and turning that into an automatic.
Right. But the thing is, and that's just rebinding, but
correct.
That's something that the PC will have that the controller will never have, is something like. Well, actually, I can't even say that because they have one of those. We talked about it before. What is it? The Mad Dog, the freaking
Mad Cats. Yeah, they've got those. They got those those
turbo buttons.
I still like. I don't think it's the same as having like aimbot or no recoil with a Cronus. I think it's completely different.
I think at the end of the day, it's cute that manufacturers like Activision are trying to curb the hacker problem. But number one, don't sit there and say that you have the best anti-cheat system, because that just puts a target on your back.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, have some acceptance that you're unless you're willing to be your own spyware, you're never going to get rid of it. Ever.
Right. And that's the kind of thing that Valorant did, where they installed like root level type, anti-cheats. We've talked about it 1,000 times before, but apparently they're finally doing it, not because they really care about us, but because they're losing money.
Yeah. And
again, it's all about money, but you know what? If it makes the game a better game and a better experience, I'm here for it.
Yeah. I can root for them for trying.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't.
Well, it's a lot more than they.
But the thing is, like, if let's say they do get him shut down, then somebody else is just going to make something else. There's always going to be something. There's probably knockoff Cronuses already out there that are made in China.
Fine. Frank, you go after the top dogs, and it has that trickle down effect of. Because if these other things are, so the names Zim and Cronus, we know those names.
Right.
We've used those names. Those are kind of like household names in the gaming community at this point. You have to go out and find these other things now.
Yeah.
And
I just feel like people will. People are just, there's just always another
some
option.
will. The majority of people won't.
I hope you're right.
It maybe there. Maybe I'm just, having too much hopefulness, but it's like the Frank Abagnale Jr. effect, where, the dude that invented check fraud that wound up with like $10 million started working for the FBI on how to counter check fraud.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something to that effect where, someone comes up with a great idea about how to hack something that they wind up working for the company to try and deter it. maybe on some level I'm for that, but I think unless you're willing to be, like you were saying, Zeus, with the Valorant, unless you're willing to be your own spyware, you have to have some sort of acceptance that there's always going to be someone that has a will.
Yeah, they're just they need to just admit that Ricochet sucks, and they need to hire the Easy Bear or whatever that Fortnite has, or whoever. They need to find one that actually works and use it.
Yeah, and any organization, not specifically Activision, although Activision would be in this list. If a company were to come out and say, "Hey, we screwed up. I was wrong," I'd support that.
Yes, absolutely.
What's the last company that did that though?
If they came out, if Activision came out and said, "Hey, we messed up. We're gonna get Ricochet sucks. We're gonna spend this much money on whatever anti-cheat," I would donate $10. I mean,
other than the anti-cheat thing, Activision did that without saying it. Why do you think we have Verdansk back? Why do we think we have the old movement back? Why do you think we have all of these things? They admitted that they screwed up without saying it, and
right.
Well, yes and no. I don't necessarily think they full on admitted that we screwed up. I think it's them basically on their quote unquote final stand. And when they announced Verdansk coming back, they were basically telling the public, we're going to go kick rocks.
Yeah.
Because we're going to put out Verdansk, and if it doesn't bring back / retain the player base we once had, we're not doing another Warzone. God, I'm sorry.
Well,
okay. Like how much more pathetic can you be? Because there's so many other ways you can fix this. Yes, we wanted Verdansk back, and yes, Verdansk was by far their best map. But there's so many other ways you can fix this.
I said this years ago, and you're a Call of Duty fan. You may agree with me, you may not. We are all to blame for Caldera. Everybody, no, we are. Everybody, we had Verdansk, we had Rebirth Island. Yep. Everybody bitched and complained that they wanted a new map. It was a con. I'm not playing until we get a new map. I'm not playing until we get a new map. Then we got Caldera, and
like a week later, everyone's like, "I miss Verdansk."
Hold on. It wasn't just Caldera though. It was Caldera with bad movement, with
I think the movement was exactly the same when we got
bombers,
Caldera,
with
Al Mazrah had the bad movement.
Yeah. Like
but
sorry,
still,
none of that. And
listen,
Godzilla was a lot of fun.
But listen, everybody bitched that we want a new map. We want a new map. And then as soon as they bring you a new map, they spend all this money on this new map. They were like, "Oh, we want the old map back. We want the old map back. We want the old map back." It's like, okay, guys, like it's the players that caused that problem because everybody bitched about Verdansk, even though they constantly changed Verdansk. They made it better. Yeah. They made it better. They changed it. They opened the stadium. They did a lot of things, but that didn't make people happy. And everybody bitched and moaned until we got Caldera. And Caldera was garbage.
I liked it.
Zeus liked it too. You guys are the only two people I've ever met that liked it.
Here's the thing. It's that I don't mind whatever the map is. I like the fact that they got rid of a lot of the high-rise buildings in the center of the map.
They just had a mountain in the middle of the map. I got you.
Well, okay.
That was a mountain.
To Zeus's credit, and I think Zeus is very kindly sidestepping the shade being thrown at me for being a bush on a roof.
I'm being nice. Okay?
It's okay. You are being very nice, and I appreciate this.
I am
which
for you.
I need a nickel royalty for that. But I liked Caldera for what it was. It was new, it was dynamic, there was far more like greenery and lush, which was
it was okay,
kind of my MO.
Okay for a little while for me too. It got really stale really quick for me.
The problem Activision has always had is they would do 2 iterations of that map, and then they would just throw the table and give us something completely new that wasn't necessarily better than its predecessor.
Yep.
What they should have done is just expanded on what they currently had. Now, sometimes taking a step back is a way forward. And by going back to Verdansk, using the Black Ops Omni movement, bringing that into it, I think the speed's a lot faster than the original Verdansk. The mantling is just as good. In fact, I think it's better than it was in original Verdansk.
Original Verdansk, yeah. Everybody got stuck on rocks.
Floating loot. Right. But sometimes a step back is a way forward. And in my opinion, outside of separating Warzone out and then charging for it, blah, 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 bring back all the maps and treat it as a rotation. Just like they did with Resurgence.
Yes. So everybody hates on Fortnite, right? Everybody hates on Fortnite, but they brought back OG Fortnite. People loved it, and then they took it away with every intention of bringing it back as like right now. If you want to play Fortnite, you can play Fortnite like the original, like the new season or whatever. You can play no build or build. And you can play OG Fortnite build or no build. Like, that's insane. Right. I don't know why Call of Duty hasn't just been like, hey, you can play whatever map you want to play. I don't...
Because Fortnite did the thing where they're trying to bring in COD players with the no build. There is actually a market there for it. There is no market for Caldera. No one wants to go back to Caldera. No one wants to go back to Al Mazrah. No one wants to go back to...
I would be willing to bet that there's more people than you think that would play a rotation of all of the maps.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to.
I've talked about rotations as far as what Apex does, where it literally has a timer on the menu screen that says next map, and it tells you what the next map is.
That's exactly what Rebirth is. Yeah, Rebirth does the same thing.
This is dreaming, but what I think would be great is, especially, you would almost have to like separate Warzone out to do this. But I remember in Modern Warfare 2019, I was watching like the cinematics, like the playthrough, like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
because it's a great storyline. And in one of those cinematics, you can see a map of the fictional Verdansk and the fictional Urzikstan.
Mm-hmm.
And they're almost stacked on top of each other in the map, where I think Verdansk is north of Urzikstan or something like that. So I thought to myself, I'm like, holy crap, how cool would it be if they had all maps in one battle royale? And we'd have to take like a boat across to get to like Caldera.
Insane, man.
Okay, Darren, you saw me trying to outrun gas.
That's the best idea I've ever heard for this Call of Duty map thing. That's great. Insane.
Rebirth,
Darren,
Caldera.
Trying to outrun gas. You saw that when I could not get ahead of the gas with no weapon, full sprint.
Slow the gas down then. If it's that big, slow the gas down a little bit.
So there's two counters. There's two counters to that. Yeah, okay, three. Slow the gas down. One is they did bring out the melee portion of things where you can run with a melee weapon. That ultimately gives you the most speed outside of the extra perk.
I still wasn't outrunning that shit.
Well, the distance that you were from the circle is the one thing that's going to get you.
Show everybody where the next circle is going to be.
Which is kind of what they do now.
Until it gets to small enough, you know.
Or do enough recons, etc.
Yeah.
But even from Warzone 1, if you were on a certain distance from the circle, because the distance was never the same going around it, if you were on a certain distance, you were going to get gas trapped unless you found a Vic. Yeah. That's how it's been since Warzone 1. So we have different but the same options there. But also bring back the split circle for whatever part of the map you're on.
Yeah.
So you could do that, and if all of a sudden, oh crap, we got to get to Rebirth Island because Oliver Dansk is going to be in the gas. So you take a boat and get out there, and whoever doesn't survive.
That would be cool. That would be really like a cool event, you know, like a really cool event.
I can't imagine the file size on that.
I'm not, no.
Hey, one thing Call of Duty did bring us, and I mean, a lot of games do the events, but like their like Christmas events are always cool. Their Halloween events are always cool, in my opinion. Like the Scream chests are amazing, you know.
Nope, hate them.
You don't like that. I get that, but yeah, I think those are cool that they've done. Like the whole Krampus thing was always cool to me. Like the elves, shoot the elves, always cool.
Oh,
Krampus was dumb.
I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it nor love it.
The Krampus was horrible. Like you'd be sitting there, you get third party, and then Krampus would just wipe the floor with.
But you didn't like if you saw Krampus, you didn't have to fight him.
They could
run away.
The one thing I will say is they should have good Krampus like executions.
Yeah.
Because like kind of like how in Breath of the Wild where you have like a moblin that picks up a bogoblin and throws it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
So I guess this whole thing's just going to be about Call of Duty today. So I may as well get into the fact that apparently teabagging and diddying were supposedly things for bans. They're not.
I've heard that, but yeah, I've heard
so
that.
It's really funny that you can teabag, you can grape people, you can shoot people in the head, you can break necks, you can do all of these things that are just completely
But if you call somebody a bitch,
humanizing,
you get fucking banned.
But if you say you suck at the game, you're getting banned.
I just love that
I can drop my nutsack onto a female player's face.
I just love that every single skin that comes out for Call of Duty has to do with pot and marijuana.
Yep.
Yet you can't call somebody a bitch or tell them
My search for double standards is now complete.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I would love to play Call of Duty. Like I've tried playing last night and today. I can't. So I'm hoping.
Oh, I didn't bring this up. I brought this up with Darren. Mm-hmm. Did you notice, Cece, that they have turned KDA or a KD into ED
in Call of Duty?
Yes,
I did not notice that. I haven't checked it.
So your it's no longer kills to death ratio. It is now eliminations to death. Everyone's KD, ED, whatever is now horribly inflated because now you get credit for assists.
The one thing I'll say,
which means that an entire team can get a point for a single kill.
This is not necessarily an Activision's defense, but I will say they've done worse.
I guess it really doesn't bother me. I don't really care.
I'm sorry, Stacey, you've always been one of those people that's very felt strongly about how KD should be how lobbies are made and how like the highest and lowest KDs. Here's the thing. I could get 0 kills. I could just sit there and take out armor and everyone else is doing all this other stuff.
Yeah.
My KD is going to be a 12.
Right.
Because I never actually get in there. It doesn't even have to be your own team, by the way.
Well,
you can get assists third party.
I grew up in the era that like that's how you like decide like how good somebody is, you know, is what their key. So I've always prided myself in my over 2 KD in Call of Duty or over 2.5 or whatever that I was. And my over 4 in Fortnite. Like I've always prided myself in that, I guess. But I mean, I just don't play those games like I used to, so I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, I guess.
Like I said, they've done worse. I mean, even going back to, you know, the whole I guess their list of requirements that's worthy of a ban. You know, they've done worse.
Okay.
Teabagging used to be a bannable offense, and it's kind of weird because teabagging in World of Warcraft is a bannable offense.
Whoever came up with that idea clearly never sat in a multiplayer lobby of their own game.
Yeah,
but the whole thing is that like you get into like the MMO of World of Warcraft, and yes, teabagging is it's a bannable offense.
That's ridiculous.
The thing is that they're both on BattleNet. They're both pretty much run by the same parent company at this point. How are they going to have two completely different standards when literally
they have two completely different game, like different people play those games though, like typically, right? Like people that are like super into WoW don't give a shit about
can't actually do it in real life.
I just don't understand how you've never tried Tarkov, Darren. Like what is up with that?
It's not that I never wanted to. Zeus actually got me to install it for a little bit, and my problem was,
how did I get you to install it?
Did you gift it?
Yes, I did. Motherfucker never played it.
Okay, so
no. It's not that I didn't want to play it. I didn't
want to. I said you never did.
I think you may be one of the reasons why he almost didn't gift it to me, because like I was watching Zeus play Tarkov.
You are the third person I gifted it to, and the only one that plays it.
Yeah, so I got this talk from him because he's like, I'm like, I really want to play it. I don't have the money for it. He's like, I would gift it to you, but I've gifted it to other people and they don't play it. And I'm like,
I couldn't.
He's like asking me like, if I gift it, will you play it? I'm like, I'm not going to make that promise, dude.
I couldn't.
Why couldn't you?
And so I ran into the same issue with BattleNet when Warzone merged with Cold War. I don't know why it was. Like Warzone 1, it was fine, but when it merged to Cold War, I would blue screen left and right.
Okay.
Anytime I ran a Steam game, I was fine. Yeah. You know, it never had any problems.
So you had the same issue with Tarkov?
Yes. So when I flipped over from BattleNet to PS5 and just got a capture card, and that's how I do things, you know, since then. But with Tarkov, that was a standalone installation, which I know it's coming, as you said last time, Zeus, it's coming to the Steam store.
Okay.
Coming to the Steam store.
Before we get to Tarkov, what did you just say?
Anytime I would launch Tarkov, it would blue screen.
No, you play on a PS5? You don't play on a PC?
PS5 is literally only for COD. And the only other game I have on there, I think, is Castlevania Requiem.
Okay. I thought you were like, I only play PS5 now. Okay,
I'm the hybrid. So I can do PS5, Switch, PC.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah. Here's the thing. What is a PC game you play, Darren? Name one.
You want to try and throw me under the bus like that?
Yeah. You need beat, bitch.
I was the same way. I started out playing on
Going
my
to the
Xbox
Steam library. What have I played in the past?
I'm pulling on my library.
I played on my Xbox through a capture card for a while, but then like survival games, kind of like The Forest, Stranded Deep, those kind of got me into PC gaming. But anyway, the Tarkov is amazing. Like Zeus gifted it to me within 2 weeks because he gifted me the $50 version, and we really didn't know each other that well back then. We had known each other, but I wouldn't have really called him like one of my close friends back then.
So here was the whole thing with Cece is that I saw him at that time as a really, like I did see him as a really big upcoming streamer, like someone that could get the views in. I wanted to be a part of that community, and I wanted to do more stuff. I mean, he was playing things with, the rest of the. Is that what the hell they were?
Are you playing with?
I'd rather just not even bring that up, honestly.
And here's the thing: I've said this story 1,000 times. And I became a streamer was just to tell him to get stuffed, and the dude has never spoken. I gotta
say, I'm bleeping his fucking name out. He's not going to be spoken about on this podcast. I'm sorry.
Whatever.
It's not going to happen.
He's you know what? Just like
please just stop saying
talk about. Dude's a bitch. He screwed over some of his founding members of the group that he was with.
Listen, I had no problem with the dude, but I got attacked for completely no reason, and
you no longer filled the purposes he.
I will tell you after the podcast all about it, Darren. But I love the guy. I thought of him as a brother, man, and
he wanted to go lick boots of the newest and greatest.
I got shit on for no reason, and I'll explain it to you off air. But anyway, Zeus gifted me the game, $50. Within 2 weeks, I think I had EOD, so I paid the extra $200.
Like the other $70 on it.
No, it was $200. It was $190.
No, it was $170, and then the newest one that came out was $250.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was $90. But anyway, yeah, I loved it, and I go through spurts of playing it. I really want to fucking play it right now, but my computer is just being a bitch. So, we're going to reinstall Windows and try that. If that doesn't work, I'm going to Micro Center Saturday morning, and I'm going to build.
No, if that doesn't work, Cece, do you know what we can actually do, guys? We can enter a $3 million Marvel Rivals tournament. It is open.
Okay, but I suck at Marvel Rivals. I'm not going to win that.
You sucked at Tarkov until you put some hours into it.
Marvel Rivals looks like it would give me ADD.
I probably can't play that either right now because my computer will just crash. So yeah, I can't play anything as far as I know right now. I can't.
Well, for anyone else that wants to get into it, apparently right now a qualifier is taking place. Like as we're recording this on May 15th.
Let's do an Unqualified Gamers podcast team. Let's do this.
I literally just said that and you said no.
I can't. Up your mind? I can't join. Find other people to play for us. I'll send some shirts out. I'll send some shirts out.
The Unqualified Gamer.
There you go.
And I will enter it by myself. I will solo these teams.
Singular.
But anyway, you must take a place in one of the qualifiers or be an actual pro team. And it takes place between May 15th and the 21st, and then the 26th to the 28th. So anyone that out there wants to give it a try, or if you've got an extra spot for a Moon Knight, I'm down. I got this.
You are nasty with the Moon Knight. You are nasty.
Oh, dude, it's great. I love my low skill, high damage characters.
I've watched Marvel Rivals, and that's a game that would give me ADD.
Why?
Yeah,
it just seems like there's way too much going on.
There's a lot going on. I like playing Iron Man and Thor. Those are my characters. I love them.
So Darren, it's the same thing. Just imagine if you're playing COD for the very first time and they just drop all of these guns on you at once. And you have no idea what a meta is, and no one's around to tell you what a meta is or anything like that. And you have to, counter snipers. You have to counter with SMGs, whatever the case is.
I think that game is
it's a hero shooter.
Yeah,
it's no different than Overwatch or Paladin.
You have to learn how to play each character, and I don't think it's anything like COD to me.
But you have to learn to play each character, what their abilities are, and what counters those abilities, or how to play around.
By the way, the internet, every time we talk about Marvel Rivals, you bring up Overwatch, and the internet hates you for it, and I love it because it's so many comments. You get called an Overwatch fanboy so much, and it's true, you are. And I love it because it push like every one of those videos gets pushed. It's great.
And they can call me an Overwatch fanboy, but I boycotted Overwatch 2.
You did
until it came back to what I consider a good game.
You did.
Darren can again attest to this 100%. If a game is not a good game, I will not play it until it becomes better. I know you didn't COD.
Diablo you didn't play for a while.
I never played Diablo 2. I'm not playing Diablo 4 right now because it's not in a good state.
Yeah, no, you stick to your guns. You're like Kai. He sticks to his guns.
Yeah. I boycotted Immortal. I boycotted Overwatch 2 again until it became better. So now it's no longer a pay-to-win thing. You don't have to do the battle pass. They brought back a 6v6. They've done all of the things that I wanted them to do. I went back and played it.
You definitely stick to your principles. I'll give you that.
I don't have
welcome.
So
you COD mother effers. Without people like me, your game would be absolute trash.
I basically retired from COD a while ago. So, and I've retired from Fortnite also. So
the only time I didn't play COD with you, Darren, I was playing it with CC. So you can understand how little I played COD for like the entire life of the Al Mazrah map.
Right.
That was the last. No. What was the map after Al Mazrah?
I liked
the map before Verdansk. Well, this iteration of Verdansk, that was Urzikstan, and then Al Mazrah. Al Mazrah is when you had the Tim the Tap Man Nick Merckx issue.
Yep.
And that's when everybody boycotted it. Not everybody, but most people.
Yeah, but they boycotted it for a bootlicker. I boycotted it because it was a trash game. There's a difference. Well, I actually care what happened to the player base. Nick Merckx is still collecting a check off you people. So
not me.
Nick Merckx is a bitch. 100%.
I love you, Nick. You're my boy.
Oh, actually, I watched a clip the other night.
I don't care.
Of Shroud actually talking. Someone asked, hey, after all of the stuff that happened with Dr. Disrespect, did you ever reach out? And he straight up said, no, you don't get banned for no reason. I'm not putting myself anywhere near that. I have not responded to messages. I have not talked to him. Nothing.
Right.
And he's getting called out by all the people in chat. And then one person in chat is like, and this is why he's a popular, successful streamer, and you guys are simps.
Right.
So, I don't care. Pediatrician.
Honestly, you shouldn't even bring it up. But that's my opinion on it. Honestly, Shroud shouldn't even have responded to it.
No.
Well, it was someone asking in his chat, and he'd probably been asked that 1,000 times.
Sure.
Right. Because they used to do stuff.
He also ignores 99% of his chat.
Because, and especially if it's like the whole entertainment industry where if you have something that runs afoul that could be attached to your name, you want as much separation of that as possible. That totally makes sense, whether or not Dr. Disrespect is vindicated in his situation, which I doubt he is. So,
yeah, I mean, I have different feelings about it. I feel like if there was wrongdoing, then somebody would show it. But I mean, like I said, it's none of my business.
CC is a pediatrician.
Dude is still
100% hardcore sim.
getting more views than 90% of the Twitch streamers on YouTube, which is pretty impressive in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because but yeah,
the way I see it is when the whole thing came to light, there was a similar circumstance years ago as in politics, and my metric is if it didn't happen, you stand your ground, you die on that hill, no matter what anybody says or throws at you.
Yeah.
All right. If it did happen, come clean about it. Just admit it. Yeah, you screwed up, and then move on. All right.
Yeah.
He did not do either of those things. He just says the same exact line of "I did nothing illegal."
Well, okay,
doesn't mean he didn't do anything wrong.
Hang on, because the problem in that state, I remember that statement. And there was admittance to responding to that, I guess what Twitch calls it, whispers. There was admission to him responding to that whisper. And that alone sets the course of imagination running wild.
Yeah, and you're right.
To that point.
Darren, you can go over to the Congo and do hardcore drugs. Just because it's not illegal doesn't mean that it's not wrong.
Right. 100%. So I think in the admission of things, like if I'm in that position, I don't respond to whispers in general. Period. Dot. I respond to people like on my phone who I know and have my number. That's who I respond to. But in that vein, I think there's some level of guilt on Dr. Disrespect's part, which I think he did admit to. It was almost half-heartedly, but because of that reason, you have people that he associated with, like Shroud, Tim the Tap Man, Nick Merckx, who all had to step away from that.
Yep.
And I think they were in the right to do that.
I do agree with that, and I don't blame any of those guys for doing that. My whole thing is he went. There was a court case. He went to court. Twitch had to pay him a lot of money. And if
you're the
Twitch
guy that thinks that OJ didn't do it,
no, OJ did it. OJ did it. But
well, that's a great example in terms of case law and business law. Is the court system? Like I had a teacher in college. She was a Juris Doctorate in 2 countries. Woman was brilliant. She would play devil's advocate with you on anything you thought about, no matter what she agreed with.
Right.
Just to test your knowledge base.
Right.
And she said something very specific, and that is the court's not your mother. The court,
you're right.
The court is not there to decide what's right or wrong by opinion.
Right.
It's based on the facts of the events that transpired.
But my thing is with the whole ordeal is these people used to work for Twitch that brought this all out in the open. If there was any damning evidence that was, I feel like that would have came with it, right?
Sure.
But the fact that there was never anything that came to light, right? I can't. I'm not going to hold somebody accountable. For my opinion,
those types of things are going to be. There's probably a legal gag order on it that they could face.
No, the gag order was lifted once one side talked about it. They even said that.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what was actually in those messages. That's probably
I don't know
the whole thing. For that agreement that. It's just not brought out.
I don't know anything about any of that, but here's what I'll say from an outsider's perspective is just because Dr. Disrespect won that case and Twitch had to pay him does not absolve him of guilt.
No, I agree. I agree.
That's the thing to keep in mind in any court situation for that matter.
The thing is I watched the entire video and he said the way he explained it was there was nothing sexual. There was nothing wrong in it. And if there was, then somebody would it would have came out by now, in my opinion.
So going on this whole thing of illegal, not illegal, how the courts rule or whatever.
Right.
There was a person that broke into a house. The kitchen was under construction.
Yeah. They
hurt themselves in the house and then won a lawsuit against the family.
Yeah, that's great.
Just because they get paid out does not mean that they were in the right. There was another dude that was sneaking into a building and the air ducts were smaller than they were supposed to be and sued them on an OSHA regulation. The guy should never have been in the building. But
no, I agree. I'm just saying that, like, listening to I want to hear the other side.
I am the only doctor that is not screwing up right now. Lupo's a cheater. Guy Beam is a cheater. Maybe not in games, but definitely on his wife. He's also a piece of shit. CC apparently only likes some cheaters. He hates game cheaters, but loves dudes that cheat on their wives.
Hey, I love Brad Pitt too, okay?
That's fine. He could have any woman he wants, but
I love Brad Pitt too.
We're not bootlicking him.
I wouldn't cheat on my lady. Doesn't mean that I have to.
Siege is no longer using KD. I think they're taking a thing out of the book of COD. What else? You got some Discord Easter eggs. If you hit Cell, Alt, Shift, and W, it automatically starts playing some lo-fi music.
Ooh.
And the new Conjuring Last Rites will be in theaters on September 5th. Apparently, it's the real story about the Smurl family.
Kai's a real horror fan, dude. He's a real horror fan.
I'm not. I won't be there.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Elden Ring is also getting a movie coming out in the beginning. Production will start the beginning of 2026. And Borderlands, we don't really care.
No, Zeus hates Borderlands.
I will cover. No. It's not that. It's not that I hate Borderlands. It's the fact that Borderlands has not had a W other than Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which is just an extension of a DLC from Borderlands 2.
I'm pretty sure
we've talked about this
pre-sequel was trash.
Goddamn times.
Borderlands 3 was bad. I want the best for the Borderlands series, but
okay, all right.
Thanks for coming into the podcast today, guys. You can catch us on all of our socials.
I like how Zeus covered Borderlands pretty extensively by just saying trash.
Well, if you've listened to any goddamn episode of this podcast, every time it's brought up, he says the exact same. He hates it. So he did like a little.
Let me know in the comments what you agree or disagree with from the show. Anything you'd like us to discuss.
This is Zeus saying trash. Like
you
a
can catch us
bobblehead.
on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, and Rumble if we're still doing it. I don't know if we've posted on there lately.
No.
But make sure to give us a follow on our socials, Patreon, Facebook, X, TikTok, and Instagram.
Thank you, Darren, for stepping in for Kai. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite, as always.